Our first speaker is one of the great dynamic organizers of our conference, and that's Dr. Walter Mölk. He is the director of the International College of Perfect Health, and it's in the Netherlands nearby, and also the founder of the Austrian Society of Ayurvedic Medicine. He will be addressing us on the subject is consciousness the key factor for evidence-based integrative medicine? Dr. Walter Mölk.
Dev. So the topic is consciousness the key factor of evidence-based medicine, personalized medicine, and integrative medicine? These three represent one of the most prominent present and future trends of modern medicine. And so we will see how this is related to consciousness. The classical Ayurvedic texts say that the human being, the Purusha, person, is a combination of metta, the Mahabhutas, and consciousness, Cetana. It is even said consciousness alone can also be considered as Purusha, as the person. It's even called Cetana Dhatu. So this view is in contrast to what many scientists think, that consciousness is just a byproduct or a result, a corresponding correlation of brain activity. And since many years, scientists are searching for the so-called neural correlates of consciousness, NCC. Some say it will be a successful search, others say it will be difficult. Anyway, it's very interesting that consciousness, also everyone experiences it as the essence of one's life, but there is surprisingly no commonly agreed definition what consciousness is. If you ask researchers from different areas, physicists, neurologists, computer experts, philosophers, psychologists, they all have different views of what consciousness is, very interesting concepts, but often complete from the opposite side. So now in this context, I want to mention Maharshi's definition of consciousness. It's a straightforward and very simple definition of consciousness. And consciousness is that which is conscious of what? What do you think can conscious be conscious of? It can be only of itself. So consciousness is that which is conscious of itself. Sounds very interesting definition, almost too simple. But in this sutra-like definition of consciousness is actually contained the seed of how consciousness, when it becomes conscious of itself, suddenly in this interaction it creates three things in this unity. That is the observer, because consciousness, and that the observed is also consciousness, and the process of observation is also consciousness. So this appearance of the three aspects within this unity of self-interacting consciousness is the key to all what we see around us. Because it says this self-interaction of consciousness then turns into physical form, into the body and then into the universe. And in Vedic terms, the sequence of Atma, the self, then Veda, the vibrations of consciousness, and then the physical body, Sharira, and then Vishwa, and all together is the totality or called Brahm. So Atma, Veda, Sharira, Vishwa, and Brahm. This sounds maybe in the beginning a little bit very abstract, but it turns out that there is not anything more practical than a good and comprehensive theory. as it is provided by Maharshi's Vedic science and technology. It means that there is an inseparable connection between ourselves, between consciousness, the body, and the environment. And this is also mentioned in one of the most basic principles of Ayurveda, the Loka Purusha Samya Siddhant. Loka, the universe, our environment, Purusha, the person, Samya, the sameness, and Siddhant, the law. So the law of the sameness of the person and his environment, or the universe. Or in other Vedic texts, Yatha Pinde Tata Brahmande. As is the microcosmos, so is the macrocosmos. And this is also one of the main aspects of Maharaja's discovery, of Dr. Tony Nader's discovery, that everyone has cosmic potential because there is this inseparable connection with everything. And in the Ayurvedic view of another area, this is described also as the evolution of the universe, the Srishti, from Avyakta, containing these opposite values, Purusha and Prakriti, and then Mahat, Buddhi, Ahamka, and then within Ahamka, the Trigunas, and depending on their combination, either in the direction of Metta, Tanmatras and Mahabhutas, or more in the direction of sense organs and motor organs and the mind. So there is this sequential transformation, or maybe, as we heard yesterday, a new word from Dr. Hegling, this sequential metamorphosis. Consciousness transforms itself into metta. And the interesting thing is, while remaining consciousness, it doesn't lose its status. And we heard yesterday also from Dr. Hegling that the basic building blocks of creation can be described in qualities which are similar to those which are described in Vedic literature to Atma, to ourself. There is this infinite energy and intelligence which physics describes at the level of the Planck scale or even below, infinite order, intelligence, and so we can, and self-interaction is a key factor, because self-interaction is a key factor of consciousness. So there is not only a qualitative correspondence between these two descriptions, but also a quantitative, as we heard yesterday, the three superfields corresponding to the three doshas and the 5 spin types to the 5 Mahabhutas. It is very interesting to see, if we analyze the different concepts of Ayurveda very deeply, then we find that they are actually more in tune with the latest theories of modern physics than with the theories of classical physics and classical biochemistry, concepts which are still taught and practiced in modern medicine. So theories of quantum physics, but also the systems of biology, or self-organizing systems, chaos theory, epigenetics and genetics we have already heard, and regenerative medicine, placebo research. All these concepts in these theories are better able to explain and understand Ayurveda than the classical concepts of almost outdated physics. It's not outdated, but it's not complete alone with the coming in of quantum physics. And Maharshi's Vedic science and technology integrates these modern theories with Vedic knowledge and presents Ayurveda as a scientific, prevention-oriented system of healthcare that can be globally implemented and integrated within every existing system of medicine. And Maharshi said, it needed a scientific age for the world to appreciate the full dignity of Ayurveda as the holistic system of perfect health. In this line, we can also see the research of Maharaja Dr. Tony Neda, who has shown that the process of self-interaction of consciousness creates a vibration, a sound, and these sounds are available to us in the form of the Vedic literature. And what are these sounds doing? They create a form. What kind of form? This form. They create the body. So the body is nothing else than the condensation, the expression of the vibrations of consciousness. By the way, I wanted to remind everyone in the first floor, there are two large posters, large charts, which show this connection between the different aspects of the Vedic literature and the precise correspondence between the different structures in the human physiology. So Maharaja's discovery offers a complete new understanding of the functioning of the body, and thereby also resulting in new aspects in theory and in therapy and prevention. We can even go further and say that source, cause, and goal of Ayurveda lie in consciousness. If we start with the source or the origin of Ayurveda, then we know that it is said when the ancient rishis assembled to find a solution for the pressing health problems at their time, what did they do? They went into meditation. And it said that they found then the solution with the eye of knowledge and with the eye of meditation. In several places it's mentioned Dhyan Chakshush or Gyan Chakshu. So they found the solution within themselves. And it's also said they were able to grasp the whole science of Ayurveda within no time. And this is only possible with the development of consciousness. So consciousness is the source, the origin of Ayurveda. And also Maharshi says, for example, he quotes, he said, Charak is a state of consciousness. It is a book also. But primarily it's a state of consciousness. It depends on our consciousness to fully grasp the meaning of that. Now the source, the origin, then the course or practice of Ayurveda, of course, lies also in consciousness. I will give only 3 examples so that one can understand the principle. For example, the 3 doshas, one of the main principles of Ayurveda, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, they have their origin in consciousness. And they are actually the result of the relationship between the 3 constituents of consciousness, which are the knower, the known, and the process of knowing, Rishi, Devata, Chandas. And their relationship within consciousness expresses itself in the body then as the 3 doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Therefore, in the pulse, as Maharishi said, you find the vibrations of consciousness and how consciousness interacts and resonates with the physiology. We have heard many talks about rasayanas and the herbal rasayana, and then also about behavioral rasayanas, achara rasayana, which is already more related to consciousness because consciousness determines our behavior. But we can even go further, and Maharshi said rasayanas, one basic quality is that they are nourishing. Now, nourishing behavior, different, and the herbs are nourishing, the different dhatus, rasa dhatu and all the dhatus, behavior is nourishing. And what is the most nourishing behavior? It's the behavior within itself. How the observer behaves with its own self. So this self-interaction behavior is the most nourishing effect, is the most nourishing rasayana. Third example, pragyaparat, we know is the mistaken intellect. You do something, also you know it's not correct. It can be now taken further to consciousness, and Maharishi explains that it's actually the nature of consciousness, we have already seen, by knowing itself, it creates diversity. So to the senses we are going out, this is not the problem, but the problem is if the connection is lost with the self while going out. So the loss of the connection between the inner intelligence, between source and consciousness, is the actual Pragyaparat. And therefore, restoring the connection with the inner self is the solution to end Pragyaparat. From that we can see the study of medicine. Oh, of course, I forgot the goal of Ayurveda. Source, cause, and goal of Ayurveda. The goal of Ayurveda, many passages in the text, it says clearly it is enlightenment, moksha. And there are also described ways to reach it and the effect of it and the benefit of it. So, development of consciousness through meditation is therefore not just an add-on to Ayurveda, but is the core aspect of his practice for the patient and for the doctor. And numerous scientific studies have shown that the repeated experience of becoming established in oneself, to be svasta, that this experience leads to transformations in mind, body, behavior, and even in the environment. Over 700 studies have shown this effect to the practice of transcendental meditation. It has this astounding effect in all areas of our life. Now, how is this process then described? Even in Charak, it says that every physician has to collect his senses and his mind and become established in his own self, in his own Atma. This is in Charak Sharirastan 320. He has to do this before performing medical activities, before his medical duties. So this is a clear advice of Charak to practice meditation before seeing a patient. The main thing from my talk is the definition of Maharishi. Consciousness is that which is conscious of itself. Thank you.
Gentlemen, practicing meditation before seeing